White people, are y'all scared to go in black spaces?
The whole history of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Let's remember, during the colonial period, mid-1600s, there was no such thing as white people.
Now, a time has come when the white Americans are considering calling for unity with the black people. They want to come together and speak the same language. Yeah, work things together and think the same on how they're going to deal with the difficult life or with the high standards of living that is in America right now, because the economy is hitting them differently and everything is hitting them differently. The policies that Donald Trump came with have been making them suffer for quite some time now, and they're feeling so bad. They're feeling like things are getting out of hand, and now they need the black community to come and so that they can be able to work together and be able to work things out. Yeah, they feel like, you know, it's difficult when you're working alone, but if we can have the energy or maybe the support from the black community, we can work things out in a better way. Of course, this is something that many people never expected, or many people do not expect, because, you know, the black people have really seen it all in the US, in the land of the white men. And if there is a last person that a white person needs to call for him or her to come and give a hand of help during this tough and difficult situation in America, should be a black person. I want you to take a look at these videos. I'm coming back with some commentary at the end of it. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read all the comments and give you a response wherever possible. Until then, let's take a look at these videos.
You know, I know a lot of you, and if you're like, is he talking about me? Probably. Are you scared to go in black spaces? If so, I'm talking about you. I feel like so many white people are scared to go in black spaces for stereotypical reasons, right? Whether subconscious or not. You're probably thinking, am I safe? Are they just gonna jump me? Like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like, are they gonna rob me? Like, but I don't really know, like, what you think's gonna happen. And I think a lot of you think, well, I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb. You will. You're the only white person there. How do you think a black person feels when they walk into a white space? You will stick out like a sore thumb. Of course you will. Well, they look at me, baby, they're making sure you're not there to hurt them. See, the difference is you're looking at them through the lens of stereotypes, right? They're looking at you through a lens of self-protection, because obviously through history, this country has shown over and over and over again the way it feels about its black citizens, and it's still doing it today. So baby, when you walk into their space, they're just trying to make sure that they're safe around you because of actual historical reasons, not stereotypes. The magic happens when they realize you're safe. That's when the magic happens. And I promise you it's magic.
I know some people who are now called white find that shocking, right? Because they think whiteness is real, right? But whiteness was created. Europeans didn't call themselves white. We didn't call ourselves white. We weren't all members of one big happy family. Are you kidding? Have you studied the history of Europe? The history of Europe was about killing each other. That's what we did in Europe. We just killed each other before we figured out there were other people to kill. We just killed each other, right? I mean, that was the history of Europe. The English hated the Irish, right? Northern Italians didn't even think that Southern Italians were Italians. The Germans hated everybody, and everybody hated their ass right back, right? There was no team called white, no race called white, but all of a sudden, in the middle of the 1600s, there was. Why? Why was it suddenly necessary to create this thing called the white race? Well, because rich people can count, that's why. And so rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, you know, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another or they're going to rise up and take our stuff, right? Because after a while, these black folks who were enslaved Africans and these quote unquote white folks who were poor Europeans are going to figure out they're all getting played by these rich people, right? So ultimately, the rich figure out they got to come up with some way to get somebody in that group on their team. The easiest thing is to get the poor Europeans, right? Because at least they look like you. They sort of share some of the customs and the culture. So they all of a sudden create this thing called whiteness, and they say, now you're part of the club. Now we're going to let you testify in court, enter into contracts, vote, at least if you're a man, own a little bit of land, at least if you're a man, right? And we're going to get rid of indentured servitude. No more of that, because you're too good for that. And we're going to take the white men, now called white men, and put them on the slave patrol to keep black people in line. Give them a horse and a gun and a badge and make them feel big and powerful, right? They're still poor. They still don't have anything. They didn't pay the slave patrol well, right? Just exploited them, used them as a buffer between the elite and the other poor folks, particularly poor folks of color. And pretty soon the rebellions that occasionally happened where black and white got together to overthrow the elite, those stopped because the divide and conquer had begun to work, right? You could turn people against each other by telling those poor white folks, they got to keep these black people in line. And so that divide and conquer gets initiated in the colonies. Rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. Fast forward to the Civil War era. And you have, I'm from the South, right? My people, the elite in my part of the country, right, actually announced that the reason they wanted to break away from the Union and possibly go to war with their brothers and sisters to the North was in order to maintain slavery and white supremacy. They said that at the time. We lie about it now. And we say it had nothing to do with that. But of course, at the time, they didn't have any shame about it, so they just said it openly. Right? The vice president of the Confederacy, Alexander Stephens, said that the cornerstone of the new government was the great truth that the Negro was not the equal of the white man. So that's the reason the Confederacy was formed and existed. But here's the trick. If I'm rich and I want to go to war to protect my ownership in other human beings, my property, but you're poor and you don't own any enslaved people, why the hell would you go fight to protect my stuff? Because I'm a rich person. I'm not going to fight. Rich people don't go to war. Right? Rich people get poor people to go to war for them, whether it's in 1860 or whether it's during the 1960s or whether it's today, right? Rich folks get doctors to write notes for them that say that they have heel spurs and that's why they can't go to Vietnam. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, you can Google that shit because he's sitting in the White House right now, right? Oh, I can't go fight. I have heel spurs. Send some poor kids to do that for me, please, right? So that's been a long-standing tradition. So the rich have to figure out a way to convince the poor to go fight for them. But that's a hard thing. That's like a hard sell, right? Like how the hell, why would you do that? Why would you go fight to protect my property rights when you don't own anything? The only way you would do it is if that rich person comes to you and says, hey, listen, you gotta go fight because we gotta maintain our way of life because if these people get free, they're gonna take your jobs. No, fool, they already got your job. That's how it works, right? Because if I'm white and I gotta charge you $1 a day to work,
and I need you to listen closely, the only reason why this is going on in the United States of America, the only reason why is because there's a fear of black domination, period. You have to know actual history, not history from elementary school and what you learned in petty little high school, okay? You have to, even in college, you have to learn way more, okay? Those books are crafted, okay, to teach you what they want you to know about history. No. You have to go back and get real history, okay, to understand why people voted blindly, okay, blindly, no matter what the bills were, no matter what the laws were going to be passed, no matter what, they voted blindly because of only one thing. Okay? The fear of black domination. I am not lying to you. Okay? This is real history. I tell the truth, shame the devil, okay? Well, during the election, you got brainwashed people, you got racist people, you have stuff like that going on, but you also have history. So some people don't even understand why they are doing what they're doing. They're doing it because mama and them did it and they did it, and that's the way it's supposed to go, because this is how we maintain control, and this is what. Okay? It's the fear of black domination. I'm going to show it to you. So Reverend C. Morris wrote this back in 1903, and he was a black leader. And he was talking about certain things. The Negro grows $1 billion worth of produce. He grows 8 million bales of cotton against the 4 million as a slave. He has earned 400 million since the war and is yearly increasing his land holdings. I know you're going to say, what? Calm down. I'm getting ready to show you something else. I showed you that part first just to give you an idea of the progress, the fast progress of Black Americans post-emancipation. Okay? That's one. All right? So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to show you where white people prefer to steal. They prefer to steal before they feel like they're going to be dominated by anybody black. This was written in 1888. 2 years ago, the leading citizens, both Republicans and Democrats, petitioned the county judge to have a Republican judge at each place of election. It was ignored, claiming they would rather steal than have Negro domination. Claiming that they would rather steal than have Negro domination. Now, I know that was in the 1800s. Negro domination. The fear of it made the South solid and keeps it so. Now I'm going to show you why they like to break up and cause migrations in the Black American community. They like to cause people to move and separate. Okay? Because if we grow too big in an area, they lose political power. Right? So watch this. This was in 1937. One of the objectives of the Constitutional Convention of 1901.
What's up, y'all? I make these videos. I've been making these videos for a long time. I was just doing it on Facebook, and it was just personal. But I just did it because I just like to do it. And I think I do it for a reason. I did a video on Trump, my message to black men. I saw the responses. And I replied to a certain extent. Somebody, I don't know if they were joking or not, somebody said, how do you know how to speak English so well? That's the same question that Trump asked the Liberian president. See, now, if you know history, Liberia is one of the countries in Africa that Liberians adapt to the American way very easily. We lose our accent very easily. Like, see, Nigerians have a deep accent, unless they've been here for a long time. Liberians lose their accent very easily because Liberian and American has this a certain connection. I don't know if it was because of the free slaves that went back and to settle in Liberia, or because Liberia has the same flag as the United States with just one star. But we follow America. America is a good country to follow. America is a good country to follow because America is the greatest country in the world. Why is that? It's not because of black people. It's because of white Europeans that white European slaves that left, and they said, give me liberty, give me death, and they made America the greatest country in the world. That's why everybody's here. It's a new country, but everybody's here. They say, well, black people say, well, they brought us here, right? You would never hear a black person say, Africans sold you to the Arab, and the Arabs sold you to the Europeans so you can be slaves because you were stronger than Indians. Indians couldn't survive in the sun. Slavery was a thing of the world. Everybody were slaves at one time. Because back then, it was survival of the fittest. That's how life was. It's just the jungle. If you watch the Animal Channel, the gazelles, the zebras, the lions, they eat each other. It's survival of the fittest. The word is survival of the fittest. The human race was given a special skill. We had it with the ability to think. See, snakes don't have on bones and they can't fight. So God made them poisonous. Because they're on their belly and they're crawling and stuff. Anybody can mess with them. Imagine if snakes weren't poisonous. They'd be the weakest creatures on the earth because you can just kill them. They're on the ground already. You can just step on them. You can kill them. So God made them poisonous. You got certain animals, they camouflage. God gave humans the ability to think. Lions are strong and they can devour their predators. Hyenas work in groups. Spiders build webs to trap their food. The reason why everybody's in America is because, call it the white man. He just made America great. Everybody's here. Everybody want things. What amazes me is that the people that complain about America the most are the people that are from other countries. You're from Barbados. Why are you not living there? I'm from Liberia. Why I'm not living there? You're from China. Why are you not living in China? But America is the most racist country in the world where everybody's here. If you open up the borders and let everybody in, America is not going to be America. You're getting benefits. You're getting American military benefits for the rest of your life. $4,000, $2,000, $2,000 a year for the rest of your life. What other country do you think that is possible in? No black country, I tell you that. And white folks, stop being so goddamn scared of black folks. Stop being scared to say the word nigger. Nigger means ignorant. That's all it means. Black people have you say is a term of endearment. No, it's not. If your whole life you're talking about the white man this and the white man that, that means you're a weaker vessel. Because white people aren't saying black man this, black man that. You don't like America like Trump said. If you don't like America, you got to get a passport and get out. Where are you going to go? There's nowhere on this earth where people are going to listen to your grievances besides this country. The reason why Trump is president, because he's the only person on the earth with balls. He got shot at. He said, fight, fight, fight. It's not about color, y'all. It's not about color. It's about freedom. The freedom to speak your mind. The freedom to just be free.
So Texas Republicans are withholding fund money to replicate Jim Crow policies. And if you haven't heard about this, stay with me because I'm going to explain it. After Reconstruction ended in 1877, Southern states started to employ redistricting techniques known as cracking and packing. Basically what that meant is cracking. When they would find a black population, they would crack or split the black vote into multiple parts, diluting the black voice to ensure that whoever the black voice wanted could not be elected. Similarly with packing, what they would do is they would put all the black voice into one spot, diluting it effectively, creating more an imbalance of white and black voices. So that ensures that black and brown voters are not able to elect candidates, push policies, or do anything that's necessary for the black and brown body that they want. So fast forward under the Voting Rights Act, and due to Texas racist history on policies, they would have to get federal approval for every time they tried to redistrict their boundaries. However, in 2013, the Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court, ruled that they no longer need federal oversight to create redistricting boundaries. And you guessed it, the states that needed clearance from the federal government and 18 other states all created over 100 restrictive voting laws in the last 10 years only. But why is Texas so passionate about it? So in Texas specifically, evidence of cracking, there is Texas District 21, 23, 25, Texas District 5, 6, 12, 24, 32, and 25. I think I said 25 twice. And then for packing, it's Texas District 20, 30, 33, and 18. What we realized that between packing and cracking, there's 4 districts on the packing side and a lot more on the cracking side. because what they want is for black and brown people to be represented by white conservative people, not black or brown people. And what this is going to do is create 5 more districts just like this, where there are 5 more districts represented by white conservative men, most likely. Now that's extremely problematic because there's a shit ton of research and long-term studies that have consistently shown that black people in the United States fare better off when they have a black legislator or black people representing them, even if black people in that district are a small group of people. What it shows is that white legislators oftentimes never advocate or prioritize the black struggle, the black voice, the black necessity, which is why we still see so many disparities in educational and socioeconomic status, in food deserts, in healthcare deserts, and the list goes on. But it's especially important because according to the 2020 census, 95% of the population growth in Texas were of people of color. So their immediate response is to redistrict black and brown people out of districts so that they have less representation rather than more, despite the fact that out of like the millions of people that came to Texas, that grew in Texas, like 5% were white people. But 5 more districts will be held by white people.
What do you mean you didn't know? I am being so sincere right now because I truly want to understand how it is possible that in this day and age where we have access to any piece of information that we want in our hands, and we have 40 years of history that we can look back on for this individual, where a scenario exists that you legitimately wouldn't know. There have been dozens of women who have made allegations of SA that span 4 decades. There's video, pictures, audio, testimonies, flight logs. He has been held accountable in court for one of those essays. Where's the confusion? This is also an individual that has a history of conning people, not paying people. He's been in court hundreds of times over the last 4 decades. And I think he's lost about 92% of these lawsuits because he, in fact, does scam and cheat people. He has been found guilty of fraud in a court of law on 30 however many counts. Where's the confusion? Why are you not connecting that all of those things that span 40 years are the same exact person that is now in the White House right now? Where's the disconnect? And beyond that, where was the confusion about his policies? He told you what he was going to do. There's a 900-page manifesto. I know he said that, no, I don't know anything about that. But before the election, I asked, what is the difference between the policies that he's presenting and he's owning up to and the policies in Project 2025? I never got an answer because they were in fact the same. What he was saying out loud as the policies that he wanted to implement was what was in Project 2025. Yet we were told, no, that's not the case.
So I just saw this video of this white man who's not MAGA, by the way, or at least he says he's not, but because he damn sure selling the look. But he says he has a fake account over on Twitter, and he joined this group of white farmers, and he's pretending to be MAGA just to see what they're talking about. So apparently they had this group chat or group call where the white MAGA farmers were upset and saying the only reason why they voted for shitty britches was because they thought the blacks didn't have jobs and the blacks would come back and work their fields. They thought they were going to get slavery back by voting for shitty britches. But they have been saying loud and proud with their chest that immigrants were taking their jobs. Yet, there are a couple of farms here in Texas that overnight lost 100% of their workforce. But immigrants was taking their jobs, right? Racism is expensive, huh?
Hey there, MAGA regret. It is really, really happening. And I grew up in rural Iowa, just 1 hour away from Omaha, Nebraska. Both of my children live in Nebraska. Most of my family are in Nebraska right now. And so this is a really big deal for me. But you guys voted for this. And I don't want to go through the whole thing that everybody else is doing. What I want to talk about is decency. So when I grew up, and probably the same thing for boomers, if you broke something, you made up for it. So say you go borrow your neighbor's ladder and it breaks. You go buy them a new ladder, your wife bakes them a cake or a pie, and you express your sorry several times, and you feel bad. So now your vote, because you did not pay attention the last time or read Project 2025 or anything to point you in the right direction and show you what exactly was going to happen, this is the vote that you made. And so I see many of you coming on here crying fake little tears, but I have zero sympathy for you, because what are you actually doing now? Are you protesting in any way? What are you doing besides trying to get other people to feel bad for you? It's going to require action, and it's going to require you to really go out and mobilize and make a difference now, because you are the one who did the thing. It was you. You made the vote. It's affecting you now, just like it affects the rest of us. So what are you going to do? I'm really anxious to hear what you're going to do to make up for it. We are not the ones that did this. So again, how are you going to make it right? The people in the Midwest it's very, very important to make up for your wrong. So what are you doing to make up for your wrong? Write it down. What action, what mobilization are you doing? This is really the only answer now.
I'm not trying to be maybe impossible here, but I'm just trying to say it's going to be difficult if the black community are going to agree with the fact that the white people are calling them to go so they can be able to work things out together or think together on how they're going to deal with this difficult situation that is in America right now. Because I don't think if there is any black person who is willing to work with a white person or who is willing to do things together with the white person, because for many years, white people have seen themselves as better people than black people. They've seen themselves as superior. And they associated suffering, problems, difficulties, misfortunes with the black people. They thought it is supposed that the black people are supposed to be suffering, and suffering is their subject. They are subjected to suffering, to crying, misfortunes, problems, difficulties, and all that, okay? And now, at a time like this, when I think they need help, if it's only the black people they're going to run to for help, then I'm feeling for them. I feel like it's going to get out of hand, and they're not going to manage it. Because look at what the black people have gone through in their land, like in the land of the white men in America. Look at the oppressions, all the racism, yeah, all the law that was put in place to make sure that they are actually tormenting the black community. Black community have been tormented, not the government, not their fellow human beings who are calling themselves the white races, not the police brutality. Like, they've been suffering and being oppressed left, right, and center for many years. Even children's, even mothers, yeah, women, and youths. Like, they've been seen as criminals. They've been seen as people just causing crimes all the times. They've been seen as gangsters, yeah. And you'd hear them saying that 95% or I don't know 85% of the criminal offenses that are being that are happening in America, they're being caused or they're being like done by the black people, which is not even true. Black people have suffered, and they've suffered because of the rules that was put in place by the white Americans. These rules, to some point, the rules were favoring the white Americans, but the rules were really oppressing the black people, then the black people finds it difficult to follow these rules. After they find it difficult to follow the rules, you'd hear people saying, you know, these people are not, they're not good people, they're bad people, they don't want to follow the law and all that. Laws were being applied to the black people in a very, very hard way. And you know, white people have always been favored. If it's a white person who has committed a crime, even if it's a simple crime, they're going to find it difficult for them to be forgiven. They cannot even, they might not even face forgiveness. But if it's a white person, it's going to be easy on them. Look at what has been happening. Segregation, racism. And you know, when these people are being segregated, they felt like, hey, are we really human beings like these other human beings? And therefore, this trauma has been growing in their heads, in their hearts, in their mind for a very long time. Right now, the white community, thinking about the black people to go and help them during this difficult moment, I think they really need to think twice and shake their heads again and ask themselves a question before they even think of calling for the black people to come and unite with them. Yeah. Because you cannot oppress somebody for all this time or for this long and then you expect to call the same person to come and help you in times of your problems or in times that you're in trouble. You see, if you come across a black person who is laughing at a white person today, you don't judge that person because he or she is feeling like, oh, so these people can also cry. White people place themselves at a point where you would not think they can cry. They place themselves at a supremacy point. At a supremacy point where every black person saw them as superior. I told you someday that even in Africa, when children were growing, they knew and they saw white people as superior. Like they knew them as people who cannot be compared by the black people to the black people. Blacks were poor because they made black believe in themselves as poor people, but they made themselves look like rich people. And the truth was that they were using even ourselves and our resources to make themselves rich. They didn't become rich by themselves, by using their own means and all that. They used black people to become rich and to have all the wealth they have. But what did they give in return? They gave mistreatment. They gave oppression. They gave segregation. And they applied to black people laws that really oppressed the black people and made them look like useless kind of people. Okay? That is what has been happening for all this time. And therefore, right now, I think what the white people are going through is what they deserve. Maybe the God of black people had decided, now I'm going to take care of my people. I'm not going to let them suffer again. Okay? So, I think the white community should just deal with their problems because to some point even black people asked the white people not to vote for Donald Trump because they saw what was coming. I tell you every day that the level of intelligence of the black people is a little bit higher compared to the level of intelligence of the white people. They saw this. They knew it. They knew what's going to happen here. It's not going to be something very, very friendly or very good. And they warned them. Did they listen? They did not listen. Okay? And simply because they did not listen, right now, whatever is happening to them is something they are not willing even to speak it out. Tell me what you think in the comment section. I'll do my best to make sure I read the comments and give a response where possible. I'm a prisoner of the Black Empire, and I'm saying thank you so much for you taking a stopover here. Until next episode, peace be with you. Welcome again next time. Thanks for watching.